Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Legends Talk. Legends Talk, man. We here, all things hoops, of course. Tonight we got a goodie. We got one of the, NYC's finest. You know what I'm saying? A legend, a living legend in her own right. Niesha Butler. For everybody that's seen the advertisement on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you, for your responses. Thank you for your likes. Everybody, make sure you go and smash that like button below, and we're gonna get right into it, y'all. Niesha Butler, Legends Talk. Niesha, welcome. How you doing?
Okay. You gotta call me Niesha. It's Niesha.
Oh, Niesha. I'm sorry. I did see that. I was going to ask you that too. Pronunciation is very key. You know, I don't want to chop your name up. So, Niesha Butler, everybody. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule. I've been hunting you down, trying to get this interview. And now's the time. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule.
Sure, of course. You're in New York, so I support New York all day.
Of course, I appreciate that. Of course. I just want to, before we get into it, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Soul Pack. Soul Pack is a dope bag company, man. They really have some fire bags. Everybody, make sure you go and visit their website, thesoulpack.com. Follow their IG at Soulpack. And we're gonna run a quick commercial. And when we get back, we'll get right into it. Legends Talk, y'all.
Wavy Boy Productions.
And we are back. Again, welcome, Niesha Butler, everybody.
Thank
The NY legend. For those that don't know, dating back to, in the 90s, there was no social media. There was everything.
No, there wasn't. Thank God.
You had to hear it. You had to hear it out. By word of mouth, and your name, spread like wildfire in the 90s. You were the first female baller, to play at Gauchos, which is groundbreaking. The Incarnation, is that the name of the school? Yes. Incarnation School, Riverdale County School, and then just championships and buckets, pretty much. But thank you.
No problem.
So yeah, we'll get right into it. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, this is a loaded, this is a very loaded interview. With respects to what you've been able to accomplish. In terms of the basketball, in terms of the acting, in terms of being an entrepreneur, and in terms of just in life in general. But and I really applaud you for everything that you've been able to accomplish. But in terms of it all started with basketball. And when did when did that love and passion for the game really when did that kind of happen for you, and where did it come from? When did you first pick up that rock?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Washington Heights, and I had a neighbor downstairs who went to Incarnation, the school, and so they was having basketball tryouts. So of course we used to, I mean, back in the day we used to play outside in the stoop. Remember those days? And like hoops up with the fire escape or something like that. And basically there were tryouts and they were looking for girls. And so my dad overheard, the basketball tryouts, and he's like, "Hey, you want to play?" And I was like, "Sure." So I go over there. He brings me over there with our neighbor. And when we get there, there was a woman and she needed help for a coach. So my dad was one of the few parents that showed up. And she was like, "Please, you want to coach?" And he looked at me and he's like, "You want to play?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right." So that started kind of my love of basketball. But initially it was a bonding thing with my dad and I, because my mom and I, we had the acting, we had the modeling, we had all that. And my dad was like looking for something he could do because he wasn't really into gymnastics. I was in gymnastics and swimming. He was like, eh. So when basketball came around, he was like, "Yeah, all right, I could do this." So he taught me how to play.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. We got some people on the check-in, showing some love. Dream Basketball, shout out to Dream Basketball.
Hey, Chuck
Anderson. Shout out to everybody showing love. My man Dorian Graham said he saw you playing at Hoop It Up at 15 years old. Yeah, Hoop It Up. Remember that 3-on-3 thing?
Yeah.
First thing I said to my man is, "Where's her mom?" Because she has to be. Shout out to Dorian Graham.
Hi, Dorian.
And William Campbell on the saying from the Heights. So shout out to the Heights.
For sure.
Definitely. So in terms of tell me about your early days at Incarnation. And did you when did you actually realize that, hey, this basketball game could really possibly take me a few places if I really apply myself?
Well, I was, a kid in the inner city, and my parents first was education and just to keep me from being on the street. So I was in tennis, as I mentioned, gymnastics, the chess club. My parents literally threw everything at me. And I don't really think that they thought I would be really good. They just wanted to keep me active and build a well-rounded person, because in my house, it was all about academics, like academics. So I started playing, and again, you remember my mom had the modeling, the acting, the gymnastics, and my dad took over basketball. And it was a really tiring schedule because we had to practice like 2 or 3 times a day. My dad used to get me up at 5 a.m. and he gave me a fixed bike, and we used to ride in the street all the way downtown to West 4th Street and see the kids play. So again, it was more like a bonding thing. My parents didn't think I would actually be good because I was really small. One of my first nicknames by Guy Hughes from Millbank was Munchkin, because I was 4'11" for years. And so they put me in track. And so as I started to get quicker in track, my dad was like, "Well, maybe she can play." But I wasn't that good initially at all. My sport was track and tennis at first. So.
Right. Shout out to Guy Hughes, rest in peace. I'm a Millbank kid, you know what I'm saying? So definitely got love for Guy Hughes. So you later went to Columbia Prep, and then later attended Riverdale, and ended up actually breaking the New York State scoring record at that time. It was you bypassed Kenny Anderson, which is a god in New York City basketball.
Yeah.
You broke that record with about 31 over 3,100 points, actually 31-27 to be exact. And at that time, how did it feel to accomplish such a feat at such a young age? What kind of emotions were going through your personal in terms of breaking that record?
Well, I'm Caribbean, and so in my household, my parents were. I remember specifically, I came home and I scored 50 points, and my chore was cleaning the bathroom. And I thought, well, I scored 50, so I shouldn't have to clean the bathroom, And so I was like, I walk in, I'm like, yeah, and my mom's like, so this is how I grew up, and my parents and my dad and I, he loved me and he was my first coach. But when he felt I outpaced him, he went and sought out coaches. That's how I wound up in Gauchos. But he still, I went from public school to Catholic school, to private school, to, you know, one of the most prestigious schools in the country. So it was guided by my academics, and basketball was something that to my parents was like, you know, I think it was Golden Hoops, which was like, I think I was maybe 12 or 12 or something like that. And I started playing at 9. So from 9 to 12, my parents were like, you know, it's just an extracurricular activity. But it was Golden Hoops. Well, my father's a New York boy, so he's always in my ear, like, you know, Kenny Anderson, #1, Steph is, you know, he always the greats, you know, Lou Alcindor, all that kind of stuff.
Right,
my dad is in my ear. So when I proved myself to my family, which was Golden Hoops, where I scored, it was 28 points and a half at 12 against college girls that were going to Duke, Tennessee. You know, my dad was like, all right.
We might have something here.
Yeah, maybe she got something. And then, you know, once that game started, I got a lot of publicity, you know, and then I just had to prove myself. Like anywhere I stepped on the court, it was like they didn't care if I was 12. I had to come play, you know, and that's when my dad was like, you need to start playing against some boys. And that's when he, you know, he put me with Gauchos. So.
Oh man, that's you're a pioneer in that sense, you know what I'm saying? Because at that time it was no girls playing, and that I don't even think any girls came in, you know, within 5 steps in that building. So
Dave Jones, you remember, man, he was one of my favorite best coaches. But I remember specifically when I walked in that gym, he had all the boys running. Remember he had this bag, this punching bag. It was bigger than the boys because he was small boys. And he walked in, he looked at me, you know, Dave's a big dude. And my dad, Dave Jones, one of the best coaches ever. Him and Walter Welch are my top 2 coaches ever. So I walked in there, I was quiet, I had an icy, and my dad patiently waited to after practice. And my dad made me watch that whole practice. And Gauchos practice, all of us was running. You guys ran the whole practice.
Right, like, monkey drills and all types.
No, Dave came, and so I remember my dad's like, and he looked at me like, you think you can handle this? And I'm not really knowing. I was like, yeah, sure, of course, right? And he went over to Dave.
I don't know what happened. We just froze. Let's see if it rectifies itself. Bear with us as we experience this technical difficulty real quick. But yeah, stay with us, y'all. Stay with us, y'all. But yeah, you know, welcome everybody to the extravaganza right now. We getting right into the interview. You know what I'm saying? First female to actually play at Gauchos gym on the team. It wasn't just you know, just coming to play. You were on the team. You know, we'll see if she can rejoin. Maybe the laptop ran out of juice. We'll see what happens, but stick with us, y'all. We got a goodie tonight. We got a goodie, man. But let's see, where's my phone at? But yeah, man, I appreciate everybody for checking in. You know what I'm saying? All right, here we go.
All right.
All right, there we go. We're good now.
No
worries. But yeah, so I think we were talking about you know, just in terms of you being, you know, that only girl in Gauchos. Yeah. So you were actually the only girl playing on the boys team?
Yes. And so actually that Golden Hoops, there was a girls game that I played, and at halftime of the boys game, where it was like Steph, Adonal Foy, Kareem Reed. It was the best game.
Hunter College or something, right?
Yeah. Columbia University.
Columbia.
Yep. And I was played on the boys team during the halftime. So that was where, you know, that was, woof. I mean, I think Andre Barrett was on the team. There's a bunch of very good players, but we were young, you know, I was only 12, you know, so we were
right.
whatever you called it. And then after that halftime game, I played with the girls. So I was already, you know, amped up, you know, by the time I played the girls game. So that's why I played well.
Now they actually had included you in that Super Six, which was the initial, you know, where all, well, I guess they got like a couple high school teams, the best high school teams in the city, to play in the Garden, and you were actually awarded the opportunity to participate in a 3-point contest. You know, being the first girl to do that as well.
Yeah.
You know, what was that experience like for you?
That was I remember that exactly because I had sprained my ankle 2 days prior to that contest. It was like 2 or 3 days, and I was like, oh man, because you know the ankle, it was like my 4th ankle sprain of that year. And I remember having a responsibility to show up because I didn't want it to be interpreted any other way. Because that senior year, I missed my first 10 games with a torn PCL, and we couldn't actually tell people at that time. So people were, you know, oh, she doesn't want to play against such and such, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Where actually I was injured. So I remember like, oh, I gotta take this up. And I was just like gonna, you know, just play, you know, however I was just gonna show up. But it was really interesting because then that's when I made my college decision. And I was the first girl to do it at Madison Square Garden as well. So I just wanted, for me, you know, even though I was young, I was like 15 or 16 at the time, I just wanted to make sure that other girls were getting the prop as the boys, because playing the boys team, I see what they got, you know, I saw what happened, and I just wanted to, you know, pave the way for people coming after me. Hey, William.
He said he used to play fire escape hoops.
Fire escape hoops, everybody, yeah. It's New York City.
Now, in terms of so you hurt your, when did you actually get hurt? It was that senior year?
My senior year, I had, you know, it was the prelude to my career because I tore my PCL and MCL playing around. I missed the first 10 games of the season, and then I came back and I sprained my ankle about 3 days before that Super Six in Madison Square Garden. But it was when I was supposed to commit because I committed to Georgia Tech at that time. So so they had that set up, so I couldn't miss it, so I had to just tape it up. I think I came in like 3rd. I was really mad because it was like 3 out of 7. But, you know, but you can't give excuses. You know, at that time, what do you, you know, you just play, you take your L like a woman, you keep it moving. But I remember that was a great experience. I remember that.
Nah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the injury, right? Like, was there any doubt in your mind that you'll be back stronger than that, you know, stronger than ever? Or was it like, you know what I'm saying, some people go through injury and their whole career flashes through, you know, before their eyes, and I guess it's different for everybody, but
no, I think it's pretty much the same. I think what happens is when you're an athlete and you're good, it is a pretty simple equation, right? You work hard, you have talent, but you really got to put in the work, and you're good. You know what I mean? And you just have to play. You know what I mean? Yeah, I did play hard and full speed all the time, but when you get hurt, it's like you're human. You know what I mean? And you have to, and different people do different things. I really always felt I just had to work hard and get better. But sometimes your body, I was a gym rat. I loved the gym. So my body, it took a toll. You know, I had broken ankles. I've had a broken ankle, broken foot, torn meniscus, torn quad, back strains, 3 broken noses. You know what I mean? I've had a broken wrist. I've had my share that, you know, as we talk, when I retired, I was like, okay, this is enough. I should have retired 3 years before.
So you still hoop recreationally or what?
I think there's a certain amount of like New York hoopers, at least I know from my dad. Like, he taught me how to play at 40, 50 years old, and he was still talking trash to me at 40, 50 years old. So I think I'm gonna still talk trash to my kids when I have them. Forever. I love basketball. It's like my, you know, it's my love. You know what I mean? My passion. Right. So forever, yeah. Why not?
No, of course.
No,
I mean,
of course, though. Them days.
Because I know you had broke your arm not too long ago, so I was wondering if that was related to.
Oh no, that's I'm an adventure. You know, I skydive. It was on my scooter, and I actually broke on my scooter. I was popper wheeling, and my front wheel got caught. I was flying. That's just me.
You're an adventure seeker. I see.
I am.
You know, you had touched on a little bit about your, you know, in terms of recruiting, in terms of the, you know, the Georgia Tech and just kind of, you know, making your commitment. But in terms of recruiting, how did that whole process, you know, go for you? I know you had probably millions of letters, you know, all types of coaches' attention. I mean, you were probably one of the only females with that type of notoriety at that time. So how, I mean, even from, you know, freshman, sophomore year, you were averaging about 30 points a game.
Yeah.
So of course the letters were pouring in. How did that whole process in terms of college recruiting go for you? Was it, you know, was it fun or?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, there was some talk that because it was the year, the WNBA was like a year or two old, so they would think I was going to leave, which I probably should have done that in hindsight, but leave to play pro instead of going to college. But again, for my family, I'm the first one to graduate 4-year college, and going to private school, I was able, you know, to look at Columbia, Harvard, Brown, all those kind of schools, including Duke, Stanford, Georgia Tech, UConn, Rutgers, Notre Dame. Those were kind of like my top towards the end. I liked it. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
really cool. At a point in time, you know, my parents really wanted me to go to Ivy League school. And the only other school they would allow was Georgia Tech, Stanford, and Notre Dame. And I think Pepperdine. One school, I don't know why they like these schools. But anyway, there was like my list and there's like my parents' list. You know what I mean? And I went, you know, I saw Harvard, I saw Columbia, and it was weird because their gyms, even though their endowment is multi-million dollars, their gym is like, you know, my high school had a really phenomenal gym. You know, it's a very old school, classic, you know, kind of gym. But when you go to Georgia Tech, you see your name on the board, you see like the Olympics would play there. It's like a real D1. And because I went to private school, for me, I wanted to play against the best. And at that time, I think UNC just won a championship. The ACC or the SEC was really the best for women's basketball. Or of course, but UConn really, it wasn't, the Big East wasn't good. It was just UConn, you know.
Right.
And my parents didn't want me to go to UConn at that time. We loved UConn. I loved UConn. I loved Gina really, but my parents, they wanted me to, you know, they sacrificed so much for my education. So they wanted me to go to a reputable university as a standalone. So we compromised at Georgia Tech. My parents were like, all right, so you can become an engineer. And then, and when you go to Atlanta on that trip, it's Chocolate City. Everybody is, oh man. I remember those days.
Right.
I remember those days. Great.
So I mean, rumor has it that Stephon Marbury actually was the person, was one of the people that actually personally recruited you to Georgia Tech, since he was I don't know if he was out there already, but what is there any truth to, you know, Stephon Marbury?
Yeah, everybody knew because before I couldn't go on campus, so I had to stay with Steph because my freshman year, my coach wanted me to report, of course, to be on campus that summer. I was actually inclined to take a vacation, but my coach wasn't down for that once I committed. So they couldn't bring me on campus because I technically wasn't a student, you know. Right. So Steph, and it was the lockout season or something. So Steph was there, and I love Steph. He's just like, I mean, you know, Steph's a god. He's a basketball god in New York City. He really, because again, I went to private school. We didn't really practice like that. It was different. My like training came from Gauchos and Walter Welch, my AAU, but I never really had a real system. So when I went that summer with Steph, Steph would wake me up at like not 6, like 5, 4 in the morning. Like, yo, shorty, get up, son. Yo, shorty, let's go. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we gotta work out later. He worked out in the morning. And then, you know, he'd feed me, he'd go out and do whatever he had to do. And then we'd come back, we'd eat, and then we'd go back to the gym. And then if he was going out to party, yo, I kid you not, we would be in the club. And it was like, okay, I'm from New York, so it's not my first time in a club. But I was like, oh, this is great. Atlanta was dope. After the club, Steph would be like, yo, shorty, get your sneaks. Let's go. I'm like, wait. Where
we going?
wait a minute. Yo, you never really see somebody, and I'm so thankful to him, because he believed in women's basketball. Like, he believed in me, and he showed me, he had the keys. He showed me how to get in Georgia Tech. We used to use the motion sensor, how to get in there at late night and shoot. Like, it was such a learning experience, because I didn't realize he and people like him in pros practice all the time.
Right.
like
5-6 times a day.
Yeah, and I wasn't really into weights. He was like, "You mad skinny. You need to get some weight on you." Like, he would tease me a lot. And he had Kevin Garnett, John Walls. Like, he had a bunch of guys always clearly went to be in Atlanta. And I have to give him credit, because I was the only girl again. And those guys came in. He was like, "Yo, don't mess with her." He treated me like family, and I got a real great education from all those young men, because it was like they put in work. They put in work. Like, I've never seen that prior to them. So it was he did help recruit me. Bobby Crimmins' brother knew my dad in high school. So it was really kind of a combined effort to get me to Georgia Tech. So
definitely shout out to Steph, man. Steph is, if or you're from New York City, that Stephon Marbury is like one of the gods in New York City.
The best.
There's only a couple. It's probably like maybe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kenny Anderson.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Stephon Marbury on the male basketball side.
Yeah. And he's a good dude. Like, it was really unfortunate when I saw stuff being said about him, because I knew him personally, at that period of time in my life. And I can't say much of how he's just a good dude off the court and on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a lot of those, but he's Starbury for sure. So shout out to Steph.
So when you kind of fast forward in just a little bit, you were Rookie of the Year at Georgia Tech. You end up leading the ACC in scoring.
Oh, yeah, sure did.
Yeah, of course. You gotta come prepared. But during that time, right, of you kind of trying to get accoladed to the actual faster paced game, and what kept you going? What kept you motivated? What kept you just kind of your foot on the gas?
Well, real talk, my first 8 games, I remember this clearly because I remember the 9th game. My first 8 games were like, European players, like Stanford, like it was like not corny, but it was that our league didn't start yet. And our first league game was North Carolina at North Carolina. You can understand, North Carolina, oh man, they were legit, had a 6'1" point guard, like they're just huge. They won a national championship within the last couple of years. Like, and then when you walk in, they played in Jordan's gym. So, and that game was on television, and I'm like, whoa, like, I'm like, oh my God, it's great. Mind you, the first couple of games, I scored like 12, 15, 8, something. It was just like, oh, okay, whatever. I went to North Carolina, and I remember their fans called us all night, bothering us. their fans are rough, them and Duke, all night, so we couldn't get any sleep. We go in there, they're bothering us, and then I get on the court, and like on the first game, I was a 2 guard. At that point in time, we had another guard, but she was too big. She was too small. It was Ashley, I remember, and Ashley was about 5'4", and Nikki was like 6'1". So coach at the last minute switched me to be point guard, and I got a smack in the face by this girl named Wanda Brown. Wanda Brown. Yeah, I'm sitting there like just like happy to be in Jordan's gym. Yeah, exactly. Nikki Teasley was one of the best guards I've ever seen play, and her counterpart was Wanda Brown. And I'm sitting there just chilling. It was a TV game, and homegirl just smacked. Like she just smacked me, dog. Like she just smacked me. And I'm sitting there like, did anybody see that? Like, wait a minute. Did anybody see this girl just put her hand on? And like, it was like, like it was there, right?
Slow motion, right?
Slow motion. Right? I got mad, I was like, I got so upset that I went off for 28 points, and we almost won. And like, I was like, I remember just getting my team right, because I don't think Georgia Tech had won against UNC for like 10 years or something. So. And I would play point that first game, and I scored 28, and I missed 11 free throws because Walter Welch, my coach, right after the game, cursed me out like, "Yo, son, how you gonna miss 11 free throws?" Like I remember this game so well because it was my first game in ACC. It was against a formidable opponent, and she smacked me into playing well, and that was it. And I was like, "Yo, this is my league. I'm taking over." That's it.
Oh
So,
man,
that was
the catalyst right there. That smack.
but they weren't playing. North Carolina Duke. They weren't playing. They weren't playing no games.
Shout out to her, man, for getting the
No, you're
letting the beast out.
smacked me, dog. Like, yo, and the ref looked at me like, oh, I'm still heated. I'm still mad. Oh.
She probably, if she's seeing it right now, like, yeah, I did smack her.
I did that. Nah, real talk. They had Laquanda Barksdale, all pros, Nikki Teasley, like they threw everything at me though. But yeah, they're pretty good.
That's what's up, man. I mean, if you can remember like those battles, you know what I'm saying? I already know it was heated.
Now it's hard. It was tough. We had to prove ourselves. So.
No, of course. Just like anything, you have to prove yourself. But ultimately, you got into a few different things. But with basketball being your true love, was the end goal always to play, pro ball, or did you always see that you maybe wanted to do other things, like the acting, or was it always like, I'm trying to go to the league? Or
it wasn't like that for me, because again, you have to understand, like they were talking about me going to the league at 17, right? But my upbringing is a little different from everybody else because I went to private school. So and what I mean by that is that we're looking at like salaries and career wise, right? So at that time, the WNBA, they weren't getting any money. In fact, you could play overseas and make a lot more money than you would in the WNBA. So of course I wanted to play in the WNBA, but it was like, okay, I'm going to get a job, or I'm going to start a company, or I'm going to do this or that afterwards. And it's just different for women. Now it's different. I think the minimum was like 150 or 250. It was like 25. You know what I'm saying? Back then. So we already knew that. Like, I think the pioneers of women's basketball back then was just trying to get opportunities for people to play, for the people coming after us or whatever, And so women's basketball a little bit different than men's, because I already knew I proved myself several times. It was a Rucker, was ACC against girls, and it's a little bit different. And because I had issues with my coach at that time, and it was a lot of problems getting in, I kind of was just like, okay, let me try to play. But I made more money in the LeBron James commercial than like 5 years playing the WNBA, right? Like I made more money doing movie. Like I just, you're thinking about your career at that time. You're like. Again, it was my love. So like, yeah, I kept playing when I went to Liberty, like, and I got on that team, and then I got hurt. And I'm like, oh, another injury. Like, you understand, that's 6 months, 8 months out of my life that I can't play anymore. Even when I went overseas, which was a phenomenal opportunity for me as a human being. You know what I mean? You make more money over there. So it was a little bit different back then because I had other options that made me way more money. So, But I'm a fan though. Definitely love watching it.
No, of course. I mean, in terms of the acting, like how did you get your break into acting? Like the I'm gonna get into the love and basketball thing, right? But
that's where it started. No, my mom and I. That was my parents framed my life. Activities was their bonding experience with me. So my mom, like, I love movies to this day. Like I actually love movies, and I've professionally trained with acting and all that kind of stuff since I was younger as a bonding thing with my mom. Like we took classes together, and my acting like big break would have come when Spike just called me. I was in spring break in Panama City with my teammates, and Spike called my hotel, called my mom. I was out partying. You know what we do in spring break, right? We're out partying, and we come back in and we get like 10 messages, and it's like, some man. And mind you, I have to say, my teammates used to prank me all the time because
Right.
they always were like, you know, I was from New York. Oh, it's Puff Daddy. They would always prank me with Puff Daddy. The football players, they're like, yo, Niche, this Puff, yo, this man, you know. So there's some times that I just thought, yeah, they're just pranking me again. So when Spike called and left, I thought it was a prank. So my teammate answered the phone and she goes, Niche, Spike Lee's on the phone. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, right. So you know, I'm like, hey Spike, whatever, you know. And he's like, mind you, I know Spike, but I knew him like 5 years ago when we met. Like, you know, where did we meet? Oh yeah, my neighbor was Isaiah Washington. Interesting story, but whatever. Isaiah Washington, who used to be on Grey's Anatomy, who
Right. The actor.
Yeah,
there's another Isaiah Washington.
Yeah, all right, he introduced me to Spike back in high school, so I knew him, but I didn't think he would call. You know, I just didn't know. So I was like, yeah, okay. Hung up. He called again. I'm like, yo, man, stop playing. We gotta go because we were going to a party. Hung up again. So I go out, we're partying, we come back. My mom is hated, right? Like, you call me back right now. You hear me? I'm like, yo, why she's tripping? You know, I call her, hey, what's up? Did you hang up on Spike Lee twice? I'm like, no, Mom, what are you talking about? She's like, first of all, there's a script downstairs for you at the front desk, and you're leaving to California tomorrow. Get your stuff. I'm like, Mom, you know, and I speak to Spike. He's like, yo, there's a movie I think that you'll be perfect for. There should be a good player, you know, that should be, you know, that should audition. I go out there, I audition for it. I get the part. And how it was, it came down to me and Sinai, and they offered it to me. And it was I had an acting coach that just died recently. Oh my God. Do you know all right, remember Set It Off?
Yeah.
Remember the guy who took the money from the vents?
I don't remember his face, but I remember.
Yeah, tall, skinny, black. Anyway, he just died. Yeah. He was my acting coach.
That was the acting coach?
Yeah, and when I got the part, what happened was they wouldn't allow me to do it without like going on tour with the company or something, because they were going to film it during the summer. So I could actually film it, but I wouldn't be able to do any of the promotion, which was horrible. So it was me, the NCAA lawyer, my lawyer, my two coaches, and the AD on the phone. And I was like, okay, we can film it. The Gina Prince Spiderwood, she's like, all right, we can film it during the summer. And Spike, I got to give him and Sam Kitt, which was the executive producer. They wanted me in the film because they were like, yo, she can act. She looks good enough to play it. Let's get her. But I couldn't do it. I had to leave school. And my mom was like, nah, you ain't leaving school short. They're like, no. So I couldn't do it. No.
Oh, I was you know, just kind of digging up stuff, and I thought that maybe the NCAA kind of said that you couldn't do it or what have you.
But then they couldn't pay me to do it. That was the first thing. And then the director came back like, we're not going to pay her, but they were going to hit me with per diem. Right. And then we were like, okay, let's do it. Fine. And then the NCAA would say, okay, she can do that, but she can't promote the film because it would be promoting her sport, which makes her a professional, which was the stupidest. Please don't give me an NCAA. They're a bunch of crooks. They're crooks.
The statute of limitations is up. You can call them stupid if you want.
No, it's not. It's that first of all, for a woman, it would have made no sense for me not to do it, because again, what I would have gotten in that movie would be more than I would make in 5 years in WNBA, and more than anybody graduating school. Why wouldn't they help me if they're so focused in benefiting the kids and helping the kids grow and be adults? Why wouldn't you let a kid take an opportunity in life?
Right.
Like,
yeah, real life, real life situation.
No, so it did, and make her choose between, a great experience and college.
Right.
Like college that, honestly, Georgia Tech costs, I don't know, $22,000 a year. I could have paid for that. Yeah, they do.
Thanks, Chuck.
I know, man. They could have paid for that and called it a day. So it's just ridiculous. But, it was one of those things where I'm glad they're changing, but they're thieves, man. They're crooks. They're crooks.
Yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. Yeah, everything. Everything happens in due time.
Yeah,
and you were able. What'd you say?
It's one of my favorite films. It's a great
Right.
You did good.
And I mean, you were able to get other roles and continue your acting.
Well, acting wasn't really my thing, you know what I mean? So I kind of done acting, done commercials, but you know, for me, like my love is technology and other things. And maybe you just multi-faceted. I do love movies, I do love acting, but I feel like, to be honest with you, I think for my life, I like to have purpose. And what I mean by purpose is helping other people accomplish their goals or do something. So for me, I never really could connect that with acting. Although I love to do it and I can do it and I love it, I felt like what I'm doing now is kind of helping people with purpose. A life full of purpose. It makes me happy.
Oh, now, of course, we're gonna get into a little bit of what you're doing now, but just just kind of going down the timeline, in terms of you actually getting selected by the New York Liberty, your hometown squad.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. You're back in the Garden. What was that feeling like, just to kind of finally get selected? You're a pro now. So even though it probably wasn't a lot of money, you're still earning money for playing basketball. So how did that feel?
You love it.
Even overseas, professional. How did you feel to be playing as a professional, playing ball and earning a living?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true, and for me, it was more like the line. I just wanted to play. Like, I've had injuries, you had issues. Like, I just wanted to play, because when you know you're nice, the most thing you want to do is share it, and also you have to understand, when I was playing, it was more about just gaining respect for the sport. It wasn't so micro as far as me. It was the sport, like wanting to say people thank you. You just thank you, William. You wanted to see the sport continue. And if I could do my part, that was what I wanted. So, playing professional basketball, I actually loved Europe because it was just an experience to travel, to, continue speaking Spanish, know the world. When I got from New York, I was so awesome. And then when I got hurt, I was like, man, are you serious? Like, so right. It was a bittersweet moment. But again, it was one of those things that's like, in my life, how I do is I check stuff off. So I was like, all right, good. I did that. My parents were happy. So it was cool.
No, that's what's up. I mean, making mom and dad happy. That's
that's number one.
That's number one. That's the goal. So you're able to put a smile on their faces. That's what's up. Yeah. In terms of more kind of going fast forwarding ahead a little bit. Scrap sports. Can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind creating that, and what is it in the first place?
Okay. So recently I talked about I'd lost my mom recently, and one thing she wanted me to do. Thank you. She wanted me to graduate college, so I went back in 2016 to graduate because I had like 51 credits left or something. And during that time, as any athletes, what we do, we saved our sciences. And in Georgia Tech, you are mandatory. You have to take a year of computer science, a year of any kind of material science like biology, chemistry, or physics, and then a year of math science, right? So I did the math, which I love, but I waited on the technology part, the CS. So we took the CS the last year. And I really understood the significance of it, the importance of technology and coding and developing and software. I took a knack for software instead of hardware. And I loved it. I was in school, I was taking care of my mom, and I was working full time. I was a silent reporter for CBS for the Hawks and the Falcons during those years. And it was tough, man. It was really tough. It was really tough. But when we lost my mother, you just make a choice about life. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I wasn't afraid of the most painful experience. Thank you. The most painful experience in my life that I could ever possibly have is losing someone so close to me. And I didn't fear anything. And I don't anymore, I feel like that there's no worse pain. Life could be hard. I get it. Everybody has their story. I get it. But for me, I was like, all right, let me start this company. And the company was, my mom had saved all of my basketball stuff, and there was no digital place to put it. So I wanted to create a storage place for that, kind of like homage to her. And I knew how to code. And I was like, I want to embark on that world. And I needed a break because every when you're in school full time, working full time, taking care of somebody, everything reminds you of them, and it's hurtful. You know what I mean? Like, I can't explain like the grieving process clearly, but I started my company. I'm president of a nonprofit company, doing reporting as well. So it's like, I want to be in sports and I want to be in technology, and I want to help the people come into this because we need more of us into these kinds of positions.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Like you said, we need more of us definitely in the tech world. With you getting your introduction into that world, you started the sports database network. Can you tell me a little bit about, the background behind that? And is it still up and running or?
No, that was my first company. And no, it's not running anymore. I mean, we have it, but there's a thing with startup life. I don't know if I think Facebook says it, you crash things fast, start over, and you iterate. As my first company, what I wanted to do is create a database of kind of like a networking for athletes. So for example, how you kind of got in contact with me, I would be able to see like that you played for Gauchos, you know what I mean? Or that you knew that I played for Gauchos, or like, all of our teammates from the past, like networking as far as like getting jobs and stuff like that. So that was my first idea. And that was kind of pretty much thinking of how do we market ourselves and use our skills in unconventional work, right? So you have almost 40 million kids right now playing sports, and negative 1% of those kids will actually go on to play pro, but they got teamwork, leadership, they got real skills. How can we cultivate those skills to make them professionals in other areas? That was the problem I was trying to solve with my first company.
That's cool. So, that's legit. That's legit for real. I mean, how did you transcend that into what you're doing with bowling technologies?
Well, so the idea, like when you have to raise money, and I'm one of the few at the time when I raised 6 figures for my company, I was like, I think there was only like 4 at that time that raised $1 million, and I was one of the 10 nationally that raised 6 figures, through private investors for my company. So now you start doing the numbers, right? You like the way of wealth, which people need to understand, is owning companies or making money while they sleep, right? But the only people that can invest in my company is somebody that has a net worth of, I think, was it $1 million in asset, or you make over $250 a year. It was more to be an accredited investor. Right now, when you think about that, like, okay, if my company would do well, or Facebook, or anybody, when they're looking for money on all startups, like Facebook made millionaires overnight, right? Like if you had 25,000 or 10, whatever thousand to invest, you can't even invest unless you have a certain amount of money. So I was looking at that, like learning, like, okay, wow, the only people that I can get money from, or if my company pops off, that can benefit from my hard work, is only accredited people. And of those accredited investors, you don't see any of them that look like you or me, right? And then I started thinking, okay, well, I'm trying to, build a product. I'm a front end developer. I want to build an all Black team, all woman team, whatever. Where can I find them? How can we pay them? Okay, wow, there's a shortage of computer software people at my level, right? They can get hired at Amazon or something like that. But I'm talking about startups, that's just casual. Then I'm like, man, the problem is that you're not starting them young. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, out of all my Gauchos and at any of my other outside teams, I was probably one of the few that was experienced a CS class. I think I was in 7th grade, 8th grade at Columbia Prep, right? And I was the only person in my class, like Black kid in the class, that did it. So you start thinking, you start like, how do I have life of purpose? How do I help people? And then I was like, I really believe athletes are one of the smartest people I know, because your brain synapses at every game, especially the basketball players, at every given moment, your brain is working, right? But we're treating these kids to go pro, which statistically speaking is just not a high chance, right? Or even as a woman prior to this, you weren't making real money, right? So I was like, okay, if I can focus on the niche of sports and try to teach them like coding things young, like 10, 8, 9, so that they get the confidence, to go into stuff. How do I do that? So I started volunteering and teaching coding kids. I'm a volunteer for Microsoft Teals. I currently teach at the Coretta Scott High School in Atlanta, which is an all-girls school.
Nice.
And it's really good for them to see me. You know, I teach them, but as a representation of my own company doing it. And eventually, pre-pandemic, you know, we have a couple of kids I'm teaching robotics to the Lego. You know, all my kids are kids of color, girls, boys, like, and that's what I want to focus on, because you don't see them or they don't have the money, you know, they don't have the money. And I was doing it for free, and I had 2 computers, and I thought we would have like 5 students. We had like 22, 25 students. They only had a tablet or a phone. So I was like, all right, how do I help my resources so that I can help them, give them computers? And then that's when I'm like, let me start this company. So I started a nonprofit. We're raising money to help the kids, to buy them robots, computers, and all that kind of stuff, and to take my class. So that's what we're doing.
Oh man, how dope is that? That's
you.
dope. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's not many people that give back in that manner. So and definitely trying to give the kids, you know, somebody to look up to, as well as you know, give them somebody that they can actually, you know, a tangible person that they can actually talk to and get a response from.
Right.
Not only just seeing somebody on TV. So that's highly respectable.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we winding down. I just have a couple other questions.
Sure.
Then you know, I don't want to tire you out there, nothing like that. But what are some of the best practices that you have employed to you know, to have a successful career, whether it be in sports or in tech or you know, acting or whatever arena that you've pursued? You know, what kind of what are the best practices that you've kind of been doing?
Well, I'll speak like specifically my experience, what I've seen. So growing up, and I guess both sides of the track, I can say I went to Riverdale, which I think is $1,000 a year for school, something. And I played at Gauchos, which isn't it's not a particularly great neighborhood. And seeing the kids on both schools, here's what I noticed. I noticed that everybody has the dorks or whatever, and then everybody has smart kids. But I realized that the kids that I went to school with in private school, they literally feel that they can do anything. Whereas I feel like the kids that I grew up with, specifically for certain areas, always felt that they had a ceiling, and they limited themselves before they even give themselves a chance to figure it out, you know. And and that's one of the things I encourage. So yeah, you see the athletes. You see, first of all, these athletics, professional sports, and any kind of entertainment is a real minute chance. Like, let's just be real about it, right? And they're thinking they can do this, and they apply all their energy and focus to something that is not only, I mean, I can't say, you know, to anybody's dream that they can't do it, but I'm saying you can do so much more. You know, I played professional sports. You know, I've been on the sideline at, you know, a top professional team in the nation. I've been in a movie set. I've learned how to code. And to be honest with you, I felt insecure in some of these arenas where I didn't know how to start my own business. I didn't know how to code. I didn't know if my knees would hold up in professional sports. You never know who's going to choose you in acting. Like, it was time that you can always choose to not be good enough. But I always tell myself that I'm good enough. Just work hard. And I wish more people, you know, and I take that question and I'm answering in this way because I just wish more people, especially young Black kids, know that, dude, not sports prepares you for so much that you can literally do anything like you want to do. And I just emphasize that because in all life I got punched in the gut. Like, I can't explain to you the pain it is of losing my mom. There's no words that can fully express that, right? But I feel like one thing she left me with is how do you deal with it? How do you deal with problems? How do you deal with a coach that tries to, you know, touch you or whatever? And how do you deal with injuries? How do you deal with rejection? How do you deal with being the only person in a room, you know, that can code and they think you don't belong there? How do you deal with it? And I just think you have to look yourself and bet on yourself, know that you can work hard. And that's what sports teaches you. Because if you can get up and practice, whether you play or not, you can work hard. and just work at your skill. You know what I'm saying? Like that's I just preach positivity and hard work, because I think we need more of telling young kids that you can literally be great in anything you want to do. Like, I know that sounds cliche, but I'm telling you, I deal with kids all the time, and you'd be surprised. I'm like, you can do it. No, I can't. What? Why would a 10-year-old kid say they can't do it? Study, like, figure it out. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can do it. You're
why not?
Why not you? Like, okay, why me? Why not you? You know, and I feel like the difference that I saw is that I'm grateful and I'm blessed to go to Riverdale Country School and Columbia Prep, but it was poured into me. The reason why I like to help so many people is because so many people told me that I'm dope, that I literally believe it enough, and I had to defend it because I had to put the work in because my parents weren't having that. You know what I mean? And it's not a problem with believing yourself and trusting yourself. You can be level-headed and a good person. You don't have to be a Donald Trump, right? Like, you can be a Michelle Obama, you can be a Niesha Butler, you can be dope and work hard. You know what I'm saying? And just accomplish a lot of things and help people on your road, I think. So
couldn't have said it better myself. That's a, you know, and you actually answered my next question in terms of you know, just kind of the premise of basketball being, you know, such a good teacher of life lessons that you can't receive in any classroom. You know, and in terms of what it taught you, or how it prepared you, it sounded like it kind of set the precedence or kind of set that foundation for you. You know, and you know, you're here and you're a survivor. So we definitely applaud you for you know, for everything that you've accomplished.
Thank you.
My last question is, if they were to make a movie about you, Spike Lee came and they wanted to make a movie about you, who'd play your you know, who play you?
Me, damn it. No. You know what? I saw there was this movie. Why can't she has a very weird, oh gosh, I love this actor, and when you see the name, it's like MG. Oh gosh, I don't know her name. I know this actors that I really want to say because I love movies. It's like M Guba, or oh my goodness. Oh my,
man, you're chopping up that name so bad right now.
I'm butchering it. I don't know. All right, I'll go with the. Oh my gosh, I don't even know the other one. The young, she's so sweet. She's like a singer. Her father's an NFL player. Oh my gosh, Zeneda. I don't know.
Something like that.
Zeneda? No, was that Zenaya? Oh my gosh. Oh my god. So
you on the spot too. You on the hot seat.
I'm gonna like Google it right now. Yeah, I think her name is Zeneda. Zeneda. She was just on the magazine. She's coming out with a movie with John David, and she's so much younger than him.
You know more than I do.
Huh?
You know more than I do in that regard.
Okay.
I don't know anybody's name.
I think her name is Zeneda.
We only know basketball over here. We only know basketball. We all things hoop.
Oh my gosh, what is this girl name? Anyway, her. She's super cute. She seems like a real authentic. Oh my gosh, you don't know who I'm talking about? Zeneda? You don't know? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna look it up right now.
She played ball, but maybe I would. Oh, Zendaya.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you say her name? How do you say it?
Zendaya, I guess.
Is that how you say her name?
Two people said Zendaya.
Yes, that girl. Yes.
There you go.
Thank you, Zendaya. Whatever. That's her. Z. I want Z. Yes.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you, Dorian.
But you know, we actually approaching an hour. Okay. This was one of the best you know, interviews I've had thus far. Exactly. I really appreciate you for taking the time out of your schedule to come chop it up with me. You know, a true legend. You know, you've done so much to elevate yourself to where you are today. And you know, for that we applaud you here at All Things Hoops.
Thanks for having this channel. I love it. New York is in my heart and hoops. So I love it. I love everything you're
Hey,
doing.
you know, we New York, we all day New York, but
All
we
day.
like to show love. We like to show love to everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody. Shout out to my guy, Reggie Freeman.
All right,
Freeman texted in,
No, Reggie. Hey, Reggie.
fellow Gaucho.
Exactly.
You know, people like the interview, so you know, I appreciate you for you know, for everything that you've done, and you know, hopefully maybe we could do a part 2
Yeah.
where we have some you know, some updates, see what you got going on.
Okay.
But
I'll
yeah,
for the show. No problem.
I appreciate you.
Alrighty. Bye.
You have a good one. All right.
Bye.
All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Niesha Butler, y'all. Niesha Butler, NYC's legend.